All right, we're going to go ahead and talk about ratios. Okay, ratios is actually well, it is a way of comparing numbers. So, say I have a class. Um, in my class, I count all the boys and I count all the girls. Okay, so I'm comparing the number of boys to the number of girls. Okay, so boys to girls. Okay, I'm just going to compare those numbers. Okay, so say I count all the boys up. There's 10 boys, and I count all the girls up. There's 12 girls. Okay, so I'm going to write this using a ratio. Okay, and how we do this, ratios can be written in 3 different ways, but the important thing to remember is I'm writing it boys to girls. So I always have to write those numbers in that order. 10 is my number for boys, 12 is my number for girls. Okay, so the first way I can write a ratio is 10 to 12. That's it. Just put the 2. All right. The second way I can write the ratio is with the colon and write it 10 colon 12. And then the third way I can write the ratio is just as a fraction. 10 over 12. Okay? All 3 of these mean the same thing. I have 10 boys to 12 girls, 10 boys to 12 girls, 10 boys to 12 girls. Okay? Now, with working with ratios, it's helpful to think of them almost as fractions. Okay? So a lot of times they will want you to ask, okay, so what are 2 other ratios that represent the same amount as this, the 10 over 12? Okay? So think of it as writing an equivalent fraction. Okay? So let's go ahead and do that. Okay? So we've got 10 boys to 12 girls. Okay? So we're going to write 2 other ratios that are equivalent to this. Okay, so think about it as equivalent fractions. Okay, I can make it smaller, divide both by 2. An equivalent fraction would be 5/6. Okay, so that's the same thing as saying I have, for every 5 boys, there's 6 girls, which is also the same thing, right? Every 10 boys, there's 12 girls, divided by 2. It's just a simpler way of writing it. Okay, and I could also go bigger, make it times 2. It could be 20 and 24. All of these are ratios, and they represent that same amount of the original ratios. Okay, so just think of them as equivalent fractions. That's really all they kind of are. All right, so now let's write another. In your assignment, they'll have you writing ratios. They want you to write in the 3 different ways. So let's say in my house, I have 4 cats and 1 gerbil. Okay, so I'm going to compare the ratio of my pets. So I've got 4 cats and 1 gerbil. Okay, so the ratio of my pets is 4 cats to the 1 gerbil. Already did that one. Colon 1 and 4 over 1. Okay, all of these are the 3 different ways to write the ratio for the number of cats and gerbil. Okay, and I wrote it in that order: 4 cats to 1 gerbil, 4 to 1, 4 to 1, 4 to 1. It's very important you keep them in that order. Okay, all right. Now they may give you a ratio. Okay, here's the ratio, 6 to 15. They don't really even tell you what it is they're comparing. This to say, here's my ratio, 6 to 15. Okay, they're going to want you to write it in simplest form. Well, if you can turn a fraction into simplest form, that's all it is here. Okay, so you got to figure out what's the greatest common factor of 615. 3. 5 by 3. 5 by 3. 3. This. Okay, that's the ratio 615 in simplest form. Okay, they might write it differently. Like, here's this ratio, 40 to 30. What is that in simplest form? Okay, well, if it helps in your head to think about it as, 40 over 30. Okay, well, they're both divisible by 10, so then that would be 4 to 3. Okay, keep it in the same form that it is in. Okay, so don't let it throw you if they write it differently. Always just think about it in your head. Okay, that's like a fraction. How do I simplify that?